Rex's name has come up a lot on this podcast, and it has.
Sure. He's crooked. He's crooked.
Straight up.
Straight up crooked. There were certain special interests involved here. Okay, I had gotten a $156,000 judgment against the Townhouse Motel very shortly before this happened, the December 9th initiation of this case. The Townhouse Motel is what Rex Bone got in trouble for expediting checks to his business owner friends their cash flows were hurting. That was them. I looked it up. Okay, he was trying to expedite the $23,000 checks to the Townhouse Motel. I just gotten a judgment against him for $156,000. They had to post that entirely in cash with the Superior Court to appeal it. So their cash flow was out $156,000. And so he was trying to help them out by expediting checks. He got in trouble with Paz Dominguez about that. Okay, so suddenly some of Rex Bone's constituents want me neutralized. Well, gee. I wonder why, because I was doing the appeal on that labor. There's the only labor judgment you've seen in this county for years. And we got it against Townhouse Motel from the labor commissioner. It goes on appeal to Superior Court, okay? So they wanted me taken out, and they did. They pulled the favor with Matt Tomlin. Matt Tomlin and Rex Bone are involved with St. Bernard's football program. And they also have they have affiliations like that. They also, in Lolita, if you remember James O'Neill and Trevor Bone being arrested for a home invasion in 2009 for marijuana-related home invasion, okay? Matt Tomlin lives at that property. So there's an overlap between Matt Tomlin and Rex Bone's son's marijuana grow in Lolita on Cannibal Island Road, okay?
It's the same property?
That's that. James O'Neill, Rex Bone's son, Trevor Bone, and two other men were arrested for a home invasion against some Bear River members. Women and children laid down, pepper sprayed. It was a home invasion case.
Rex Bone's son was involved in that?
Yes. It was eventually dismissed against him, but the other ones all got misdemeanors. But it was a home invasion pepper spray with guns, armed home invasion over marijuana. Documented. It's all in the paper. It's all in there, okay? And that is where Matt Tomlin lives, at that property. So there's some grow affiliations here going on, okay? There's some St. Bernard's affiliations, some football program affiliations going on. And so then who do they go for the warrant? They go to Joyce Heinrichs. Well, Joyce Heinrichs, presiding judge, issues the warrant, owes Rex Bone a big favor, because if you look at the legislative record before this, she owed him a favor from the $650,000 grant that he endorsed, got the county's endorsement. It's called the Family Wellness Program. She was seeking the county's endorsement for her $650,000 grant for the Family Wellness Court, intertribal grant, her and Abby Abernathy. So they go to Rex Bone and say, could you sponsor our legislation? Big judicial violation. Judges are not supposed to be doing any sort of legislative work at all, period. It hasn't been reported, but that is absolutely a violation of judicial ethics. So she goes to the county. She's on videotape. If you look up the county archives, asking for their endorsement for this program. Big photo shoot afterward with Rex Bones and her
And wait,
shaking
what
hands.
was the $650,000 for?
It was a grant. It was a grant effort that she was putting together for the wellness court, the family.
And how did Rex Bone tie into that?
He agreed to sponsor the legislation for the endorsement of the county and put it on the county's agenda, got the endorsement, took the photo op with Judge Joyce Heinrichs. Judge Heinrichs and him are off record on a photo op shoot in the county boardroom approving that legislation. It is legislation, local, but it is. So there's your favor owed. And so when they go to her saying, when Matt Thomas says Rex Bone wants this warrant so they can neutralize Michael Acosta, she obliges because she owes that favor too. And the next thing you know, out of 10 informants who never said I was a heroin dealer, ever, never saw a heroin transaction, and never bought a firearm at my house, suddenly I'm being raided for firearms and heroin.
I'm over here smiling, not because of your story, but because it almost feels like Rex's name has come up a lot on this podcast, and it has.
Sure. He's crooked. He's crooked.
Straight up.
Straight up crooked. I think, okay, the townhouse thing, they get reimbursements for homeless assistance, supposedly, the owners of the townhouse, okay? The employee that I sued them for, named Candace Knight.
Wait, what is the townhouse program?
The townhouse motel.
Okay, it's a hotel.
The townhouse motel gets reimbursed by the county for assisting the homeless. County vouchers for homeless.
A hotel does this?
Yes, they get county reimbursements. There's some homelessness program that's being abused. I'll say it straight up. I'm not afraid of defamation of character or anything else. You can bring it because it's true. I'll prove it. That they get reimbursed for assisting the homeless. Same thing with the Royal was getting these vouchers too before they went out of business, even though they hadn't had a business license for 2 years.
What does this assistance look like? Housing,
It's cash.
food?
Yeah, it's housing. It's you provide a room to this homeless person, and
The county gives you money.
County will reimburse you from some other bigger grant, federal grant or federal. So
I didn't know that was going on.
that's going on. So that's when Rex Bone was trying to expedite those checks to his Indian friends. He says in the paper that are business owners of.
It was in regard to that.
It was in regard to the motels getting reimbursed for homelessness assistance. Okay, so they get a check from the county. Their employee was Candace Knight, sued them for not paying her properly for the $156,000 judgment we got from the Labor Commission. She was required to fill out some of those homelessness vouchers when she was being given rooms there by her boss. So she remembers filling out reimbursement slips for the townhouse to get reimbursed based on homelessness funds, right? At the same time, they deducted the cost of that room, according to the Department of Labor records that we received in discovery. They deducted the same nights for her of that room from her payroll. That's why they were justifying not paying her as much, because they were deducting $150 a night or something like that for payroll. Therefore, they were double dipping. Therefore, they're not entitled to the county reimbursement if they're deducting it from her payroll, and she's not homeless. She had a home the whole time. They're just abusing a program to get reimbursed. Okay? And this is the group that Rex Bone is trying to expedite their checks for, because they had to put $156,000 cash in an account with the Superior Court to appeal that labor judgment. Now, so it had the effect that they wished. The day of my raid, because of the raid, Candace Knight fired me as an attorney because she didn't think I had a license anymore. So here I'm sitting on a $156,000 judgment against the Townhouse Hotel, and my client fires me from doing the appeal because I got raided and she doesn't think the court will take me seriously now, or that I don't have a license for some reason. I asked her and she said, I just didn't think it was the best thing anymore. And so it goes over to the firm across the street from the courthouse, and they settle it immediately for $100,000 and take 40%, and I get nothing out of it, right? After doing all that work.
After you had already set it at 156?
The judgment from the Labor Commission was $156,000. I mean, and they settled it within a week and took the $100,000, gave her 60. She gave me 1, and they took 40. And then the townhouse got back 56 at least. But I was going for the whole 156 on appeal because we would have won the appeal.
You think you would have locked down that number?
We had the case just dialed in. So I mean, that was the incentive, and it had the immediate effect of, yes, it knocked me off the case. Unfortunately for them, she found another lawyer to pick it up, and they still were out $100,000, but it got them back $56,000 at least. But that is the timeline all fits, and the conflicts of interest are all there to prove this. It's all in the record. The conflict between Joyce Heinrichs and Rex Bone, it's in the videotape of the county boardroom. The conflict between with Matt Tomlin and Rex Bone exists through the St. Bernard's records, because he sits on the foundation of the St. Bernard's Board Foundation, like to raise money for them. And Matt's obviously the varsity coach, and they're both also alumni at the same time. But they have current fundraising goals, set for the varsity football team through that foundation, and he's posted on their website as a board member of that. Okay, and then there's the affiliation of his known residents, Matt Tomlin's known residents, with Trevor Bone's Grow through that 2009 home invasion case. So all these exist in the media and the public record, all these affiliations.
And so,
as does the Townhouse connection, because
you believe that the Townhouse Motel
were the people complaining about me.
That was the precipice.
They were not. It was not the neighbors. He said that some of the neighbors, I don't know where those people. They don't live in my neighborhood. They didn't call the police. When you want something done about a criminal behavior, and
I don't know why you would call Rex Bone, let alone any county
you
supervisor.
You call the police if you have.
But to be fair, I could see a situation where maybe they are friends with Rex, and would call him, I guess, maybe.
Hey, by definition, it's political lobbying, no matter how you cut it. If you call him instead of the police, you are lobbying for a political solution, not reporting a crime. So the case was started off by political lobbying against me from out the gate.
But so you think this was a concerted effort against you?
Concerted only by those special interests. But
that's a pretty large group of people. You'd have to have
3 people in power that owed favors to each other. 3 people.
One
cop, Rex, who's obviously a known factor, and Joyce, which is surprising to me, but because
Joyce being the judge.
Joyce Heinrichs, yes, and of the 3, she is the most respectful and someone who I admire. But I was disappointed to find out that she did this, because obviously there was a favor owed or the appearance of a favor owed from the board videotape of her shaking Rex Bone's hand during the meeting. And it was a photo op for her because he had done a favor for her. And so she agreed to do this photo op. Presumably, she's a salaried person. It was during daytime hours, Monday through Friday. She was on the clock as a Superior Court judge, lobbying the county supervisors for money, for an endorsement for money. And so I didn't even look at that until after the case. I didn't even see that until after. I said, why would she do this? Why would she issue a warrant that had no basis? And there I found it, because she owed a favor to Rex Bone. So this is the reason I ran. It inspired me to run, because there's more to it. There was supposed to be a special master there because it was a law office that was being raided. The state law says it's supposed to be a special master. He was 30 minutes late.
Even though it's a law office in your house?
Yeah. She ordered, Judge Heinrich said in the warrant, Special Master Dustin Owens shall conduct the search of the law office to tell them what's confidential, what's not, what's client property, and what's not. They didn't wait for him. He was 30 minutes late. Now remember, it's a 7-day-old warrant. They couldn't wait 30 more minutes for the special master to show up, but they came in 3 minutes after Tracy Nichols showed up to plant those drugs.
Did they have an explanation as to why they waited the 7 days?
No, they said he told me they were waiting for one of their informants to say that there was something at my house, that there was a firearm at my house. So you got it you got this thing saying I'm imminently a danger to the community, and then there's not enough to go into my house for, so you wait till something comes up. Then nothing came up. I don't deal drugs. I've never been a drug
dealer. I don't
dealer.
understand how that works. You don't have to just get another.
You have 10 days.
Warrant?
10 days usually.
10 days.
Yeah. But usually, statistically,
10 days after it expires, you can just
10
you
days
can still
after
use
you
it.
obtain it. 10 days out, you have to execute it within 10 days of when it's obtained. Okay.
And so they didn't do that.
Usually that's used because the person can't be found. I was home the whole week. They saw me that day and followed me. There's no explanation, if I'm an imminent danger to society and trading firearms, why they wouldn't come in immediately. By and large, the vast majority of warrants are executed the same day they're obtained, if not the next day. But usually immediately. Usually it's a situation where they want to go in immediately.
Okay, so they had a 7-day or a 10-day window, and they waited until the 7th day. So it's not that they had the warrant, it expired an additional 7 days, and then they went in.
No, it was within the 10-day window.
Okay.
But it's odd statistically, and it's odd. It's very odd in light of the fact that they didn't wait 30 more minutes for Dustin Owens, the special master, to get there, which was required by the warrant's terms.
And that doesn't invalidate
It may. We're going to file a suppression motion on that. I think it should, because that bag of drugs was, they admit, in my law office, and it in fact was client property. And Dustin was supposed to be there to determine what was client property and what wasn't. And they made that assessment on their own. They went into my office and searched it on their own. They said, well, we weren't going through anything confidential, client property or files. Well, that's the whole point, is you're not trained to recognize that as a law enforcement officer. That's why the law requires a special master to recognize what's client property and what's client file and what's not. And so they didn't wait for Dustin Owens. He showed up admittedly late. They've said that on the record, and that should invalidate the search itself. But I mean, I want a vindication on substance, not procedure. I want them to DNA test the bag, or allow me to DNA test the bag to show that my DNA is nowhere on that bag of drugs or any containers in it.
I didn't realize that all the drugs were in one bag. That wasn't anywhere
The ones
online.
they're charging. All the drugs that are related to a sales charge, that are the felony that would take my license, are in one bag. The other thing that could take my license is the maintaining a controlled place for controlled substances. It has to be storage or use. Okay. There's no evidence that anyone used any drugs there at that point. And there's no evidence, because they're blaming me for possessing all the drugs, that I'm storing it for a third party.
Did you have any other drugs that were not in the bag?
No, there was nothing.
All the drugs in the house, in the office, were in that bag.
I think they said that I had never seen Ashley. She had just come in with Sarah, with that little group of 3. And she was in the bathroom the whole time. When I let the cops in the house, I never even saw her. She was still in the bathroom. Apparently, when she got out of the bathroom, they said she was trying to flush drugs down the toilet. And I was like, not as far as I know, not for me. I mean, I don't think she even knew the cops were there, because she was in the bathroom. So she might have had something on her, or I don't know. I didn't even see her.
Well, you would hear, I would assume, I've never been a part of a raid, but I would assume that you would be able to hear if the cops are raiding the house that you're in.
Well, see, I saw him on the video camera.
No, but for her.
Oh, yeah.
If she was flushing drugs, because she thought, oh shit, the cops are coming.
I don't know what she was doing. I don't know what she was doing. She just walked in the house. I hadn't seen her. I never saw her face till.
But aside from that, there were no other drugs.
That would be a simple possession on her part, anyways. It wasn't a large.
Because the way you phrased that, it sounded like there were other drugs in the house that weren't pertinent to the case.
That's the one caveat, is I don't know what Ashley had
in the bathroom.
Now, granted, she was never charged, so I have to assume there was nothing criminal, because they didn't charge her, even though she was a strike felon. If she had anything illegal, if she sneezed at him wrong, they could have arrested her.
Why was Ashley over?
She came with Sarah. She's one of Sarah's good friends from a long time. did pregnancies together a couple kids ago.
It's a little weird that you're hanging out with all of these felons, but
Well,
again, it's your office, so it's kind of hard to delineate.
Remember, I wasn't hanging out with anybody. Is me and my son there with Rainey Macbeth that was just picked up and left. That was just a play date for my kid. Okay, I'm at home, a home dad doing a part-time practice.
But he is a felon.
Who? Brian Macbeth is on federal felony probation. Yes.
Macbeth.
Yes. For, mind you, only for the cultivation of marijuana. And Brian's case, he is the last known federal prosecution for cultivation of marijuana in Humboldt County history. In my opinion, he should be given a presidential pardon for that because that's ridiculous to make someone a federal felon over cultivation of marijuana when you're handing out licenses to do this practice at the state level. So I don't know why that happened, but that's all he's a felon for. Okay. But he was on federal felony probation, and by all right, they should have had him arrested and detained. They did arrest and detain him, but they didn't charge him with any state crimes for a half ounce of something that he had in his car, in his dash, inside the console of his dash or something. So I never saw that either. That's I think why he left Rainey at my house, because it was safe at my house. But the two women just came in with Sarah because one asked for a ride and one is Sarah's buddy. They were both giving Tracy a ride. I never saw the bag that Tracy had. My DNA is not on it anywhere, I guarantee you. And the one piece of indicia in that bag, which is Shelley Aubrey, was a person I had never met before, who I've now interviewed, and I'm taking a declaration from. And she says, I didn't know you from Adam, Michael. I knew Tracy. I was hanging out with her the day before. I left that bag in the car of Maria Camacho's, and we were all three in the car together, so she must have gotten it. And she described the bag as the same bag, as a shaving case bag, some sort of a toiletry bag. I still haven't seen the bag to this day. They said it was a shaving case, and then at prelim they said it was a men's shaving case. They particularized it, right? I don't know if that bag says Avon in it or Old Spice. I have no idea what it says.
You never saw.
I've never seen the bag. I would like to see it if it says Avon in it, because I don't know if it's a men's or women's shaving case.
It is a little uncomfortable to digest because it's a judge, a cop, and a district supervisor.
It's not that hard. This is a small town. If people are in denial that there's a good old boy network in this town,
I'll admit I was more inclined to believe there wasn't until I started doing these podcasts.
Yeah. So if the words, if the name Rex Bone hasn't come up with cronyism at all in the past, then I think you haven't been listening close enough to the streets and stuff, because it happens. And frankly, I have nothing personal against any of these people. I've never personally had any dispute with these people.
But you think they're trying to get back at you for what you did with the townhomes?
Rex Bones, and Rex Bones Park is around the corner from my house, and sometimes
the baseball park?
The baseball park that's owned by the Field Committee Corporation. And I don't know, Matt Tomlin does some practice there with the Eagle League, or it's like baseball for kids or something like that, American Legion Eagles or something like that. So I don't know if I'm just a thorn in their side because they see people coming over for advice or what, I'm definitely a unconventional lawyer. I call myself the anti-lawyer. I don't like lawyers. I don't hang out with lawyers. I'm not proud to be a lawyer. I don't think lawyers are any better than anybody else around here. They're probably the last people I would hang out with, honestly. I like hanging out with people who work with their hands, vocational people who are of the earth, work with the earth, mechanics, gardeners, anyone who does vocations with their hands. And I come from a family of educators. I don't have a bunch of lawyers in my family. I don't go out to lunch with the lawyers, whether it's prosecutors, defense lawyers. It's just not my preference, not my thing. My identity is not wrapped up in being a lawyer. So sometimes I laugh that, gee, they don't know what a favor they would be doing to take my license. I don't even like practicing law. But that being the case, I'm now inspired to run for district attorney because of all these civil rights abuses that occurred in my case. The lack of discovery alone, the lack of being forthright with discovery. Under Paul Gallegos, you can say what you want about Paul Gallegos. We always got full discovery, and then it would be let the chips fall, let the dust settle, okay? Under this administration, they don't give you all the discovery. If it's exculpatory, they withhold it. They're trying to win by cheating. That's cheating.
Exculpatory meaning?
It clears your name.
What? They can hold...
They're not supposed to. Under Brady, it's Brady material. This administration, we struggle with getting basics from them, like the videotape from my own DVR that I was watching when they were raiding, that they took, and it's on the pink property sheet they left, my DVR. They will not give me the tape, and they say they can't find it. That would clear my name because it shows Tracy Nichols with the backpack on her back. Okay? the phone that she left in my office, they confiscated Sarah's phone. The phone that was closest to the bag of drugs was Tracy Nichols' phone. They gave it back to her rather than taking it and taking the text messages off to show that she was the one that was gathering up all these drugs around.
Well, and who's just walking around with 17 grand?
Well, they said it was from winnings from the casino and that they had verified that within the 24 hours and gone to the red line and given her money back. You did all that rather than rather than finding out who Shelley Aubrey was, which was the indicia in the bag. You spent your time verifying that her $17,000 from gambling winnings. You didn't bother calling the one indicia evidence you had. And they said, no, we didn't call Shelley Aubrey. We don't know who she was. Well, I don't know who she is either, but I've met her since then. I've met her. I had to say, do you know Tracy Nichols? Yes, I do. I was with her the day before that happened. She said, I can't believe they're doing this to you, Michael. I can't believe my friend Tracy is doing this to you, Michael.
Why doesn't Tracy just come forward?
Well, apparently she sees more benefit to being in the pocket of the cops than just being honest.
But if that were true, why would she tell you? Why not just let you?
Because at the time, I think she had to save something. Well, because I went to her. She didn't come to me with that information. I went to her hotel.
You tracked her down?
Well, she was at a different hotel at that point because she'd been kicked out of the Red Lion for all the traffic and the fact that the cops had been there a couple times to give her money back. Red Line management got tired of her and put her over to the Clarion, and that's when she moved to the Clarion. I tracked her down as soon as I got out of jail. I tracked her down and said, what's going on, Tracy? Why is this happening? And that's when she told me that the cops said if she claimed the drugs, she won't get her money back. So she had incentive to not claim the drugs. And I said, okay, well, I understand what you did, but now it's time to claim it, huh? And her response was, well, I'm just going to do what my lawyer says to do. And that didn't make me feel very good.
Do you know how many?
She didn't just say, yes, I will do the right thing.
Do you know how many cops were involved in the raid?
Oh, Jesus. We had, I think it was like 40 cops in 4 different locations because they had borrowed APD Arcata to do the fourth location, which apparently they didn't find anything at and no evidence of anything that I was supposedly dealing firearms with. It was Abby Wirtz's house on Union Street. And according to her and them, they found nothing there. I don't even know if they went in there. The discovery they gave me from that particular raid was the wrong property. It was an unrelated discovery. So I don't even know if they went in that house, but there was nothing found there. So the allegation of where I would be purchasing firearms or conspiring to distribute, nothing was found there at all. Okay. So the one in Ridgewood was covered by EPD. That was
that's your primary residence.
No, that's the Haberman house.
Oh, okay.
Where the half pound of heroin and all the firearms was found, including the illegal assault weapon and the stolen firearms. 30 firearms with heroin, and it resulted in a misdemeanor for him. Okay, already done, no prelim or nothing. Okay, and then there's my house and my storage, which are right in Cutton. Storage unit, they found nothing illegal. All my firearms were locked away safely. None of them were illegal. And there was my house, and I had basically. If you want to nail me for a scraper bag in my pocket, I would just plead no contest to that right now. It's a misdemeanor. It's a PC 1000 dismissal is what it is, because I've never had any offenses before. So the easiest way for me to get dismissal would just be no contest in PC 1000, 20-hour course, and it's dismissed. Okay, just because I don't want to have to go to trial on a stupid thing like that, right? And to argue whether it was trash or not. But and that's even if it was a usable quantity. It wasn't even usable quantity. It was a trash scraper bag. It was like looked like it had remnants of something, admittedly, but I don't know what it was, and I don't think they tested it. Even if they did, it still has to be usable quantity. But I would gladly plead that out just to say no contest and get it done with, rather than going through this whole thing. But they are still charging me with like 5 or 6, 7 felonies, something like that. They added more after the prelim because they decided that the Xanax was possessed for sale and the Suboxone was possessed for sale. What kind of heroin dealer sells heroin and Suboxone at the same time?
I don't even know what Suboxone is.
Suboxone is what gets you off of heroin.
Oh. So you now have 7 felony charges?
Something like that, yeah, 5 to 7 felonies. It's overkill, and then it shows how overkill it is in the fact that they've never given us an offer, even a bad offer. They haven't given us any offer to settle the case. When they've settled all 4 other cases, well, 2 of them they didn't prosecute, 2 of them misdemeanored out before prelim, and we're left with all felonies and no offer 2 years later.
Yeah, why has it been taking so long? And I can't even find anything about it anymore. It's all from 2020. Yeah, I think there were a few articles from 2021.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, I'm not alleged to be in any problem since then. I mean, they know. The fact is, they know I'm not a heroin dealer. They know I'm not a firearms dealer. I'm not charged with that.
So you're saying they don't actually intend to go through with these charges?
They intend to go through with it. Their goal is to take my license. Their goal is they're abusing their authority to do a prosecution to neutralize me as an activist Because of shit like this.
Doesn't
Excuse
it
me,
seem
I'm sorry.
crazy? No, you can say whatever you want.
Because of shit like this, me speaking, because I'm not afraid to speak my mind and never have been. You have to remember, the first time they started hating on me was when I represented Earth First doing the logging wars. Okay, I was representing Earth First kids who were trespassing because of their political beliefs, conscientious objectors, and being arrested intentionally, civil disobedience, and they didn't like me back then.
But doesn't it seem crazy, the idea of them trying to go after a lawyer? Isn't that kind of like somebody trying to fight a Navy SEAL?
Not necessarily.
I mean, we're not talking about them planting drugs on some felon.
It's a little extreme. It's a little bold. It's definitely bold. But, look at Tomlin's Facebook page. He had a page on there saying that he was king of the North, and it shows him with all these firearms behind him and icicles and stuff. This is right after his Division 6 championship game, and these people believe truly that they control this county. I mean, look at it this way. They're growing pot together on Cannibal Island Road. A task force agent who lives with Rex Bone's sons lives there on site. So they are...
A task force agent lives there as well?
Matt Tomlin's address is the Grow where James O'Neill and Trevor Bone launched that home invasion because of marijuana. It's a marijuana operation, which brings up the hypocrisy of it all, too. Just years ago, marijuana was a felony, too, people. And now you have task force agents growing it with supervisors' sons, and now Rex is the cannabis representative for the county, and doing a terrible job, I might add, because Humboldt County has blown its lead in the cannabis business. They should have just gone the other way, and they should have put marijuana on the market like Disney markets, Disneyland souvenirs at Disneyland. They should have just had it everywhere with the common restrictions of no adult, no distribution to kids, no DUIs, the same restrictions we have with alcohol. But they should have just gone the other way and been the cannabis capital of the world like they should be. And they'd be making more tourist revenue. Instead, the most profitable cannabis operation in America is in Michigan. Michigan. I mean, think of that. The weather in Michigan. Why are they the most profitable cannabis operation in the country? Because of efficient managing and because of streamlined regulation. We do not have streamlined regulation of cannabis in this county. But that's a county board of supervisors issue, not a DA issue.